Hey there and welcome back. This week we are going to look very briefly at preparing to school on the road. Now I know that some of you homeschool year-round, and so this would be something that you could incorporate right now as you probably do a little bit more traveling in the summer. But for those of you that don't, these are some ideas that you can really incorporate as you're traveling this summer anyway. And then as you get into your school year and you have opportunities then, one of the great things about homeschool is it gives us the flexibility to come and go and do some really amazing things. When David and I first started homeschooling, he was working for a sports marketing company, and we had some phenomenal opportunities to go to the schools that he was working with and explore the areas around there. We went to Mobile, Alabama several times because he was working with the University of South Alabama at the time, and we were able to go to the battleship down there and the Children's Museum and several other places, as well as look at Civil War battlegrounds and so on as we were coming and going. And that wasn't all. We've been to DC. We've been really, the Lord has opened doors for us to go to a lot of different places and homeschool all along the way. So I wanted to encourage you that you can do it. It's super fun. It allows the children to really see that that homeschool is not something that's its own little entity. Homeschool is something that we're doing day in and day out. It's part of life, and learning to love, or loving to learn is something that will come out of this. So I wanted to show you a couple of different ways that we used to school on the road. When my children were very little and it was much easier to do it, I was able to travel with nothing more than this. And this is how I set it up. This is just one of those cheap little expandable files, and this one I got out of the attic, so it's all yucky because I don't use it right now. But if you can see, I had days of the week noted for each child. And what I would do is I would just make little packets of their papers, and I would put them in each day of the week for them so I could just pull it out. Now this, they were doing, or when I set this one up, they were also doing some DVD classes. So I had a place in the back for their individual DVDs. I had a place all the way in the back for field trip information. So anywhere that I wanted to make sure we got to, while we were there, I had a little spot in the back for that. But it made it very easy for me to just pull out packets for them to work on each day. And they got to the point where they were very accustomed to doing this work in hotel rooms, in the car, in lobbies of buildings, at parks, really anywhere that we found ourselves. My children were flexible enough that they were able to get their schoolwork done. I will tell you, I backed off some as we traveled. I didn't take everything that we had. I took enough. I took enough to make it legitimately school, but I didn't pack every book, every piece of paper that they could possibly do. I took enough. I also made sure that I themed it around where we were going, and that's why you saw that field trip information at the back, because with a little bit of preparation, you find out what you're going to pass along the way, and you'll find some really neat stuff. There's some really great roadside stuff, just out of the way things that people will just drive by, they miss. You don't have to miss them, and you can learn some history around it, and that makes for just wonderful school time and really great conversation when they're older and they're all reminiscing about everything that they experienced and learned when they were younger. So as they are younger, this kind of a setup is wonderful. Actually, another thing that we did a lot of was unit studies at that point. So instead of taking individual stuff for every student every single time, I would center our entire trip around a unit study that we were doing. For example, we went to Hawaii our first year of homeschooling, and we knew that there on the island that we were going to, there was a volcano. And so I did a unit study about volcanoes leading up to that trip. And then I took just a little bit. I didn't want that trip to be a whole lot of school because we were purposely taking off. But I did want to make sure that we knew what volcanoes were, and we were able to actually take a monster field trip to go up, see inside of a volcano, walk around up there, see the black dust and all this really cool stuff, looking way down from the mountain on the clouds, feeling the difference in the altitude when we were up that high. It was wonderful, but that just took a little bit of preparation and thinking, where are we going? What can we study about it? So unit studies, especially as your children are younger, is another really great way to school on the road. Now, as my children got older though, we outgrew this. And in kind of that middle range, when they weren't really little, but they weren't in high school yet, I took a rolling cart with me, just the ones that they sell at Office Depot, Staples, that kind of thing. You see them a lot at our events. They're just four-sided plastic, they have a handle and they roll. And I would put the necessities in that, because by that point we had larger hardback books. I wasn't doing as much together as I was when they were younger. They didn't have worksheets really. They had much more, you read it and then you assimilate the information and you work on it after that. So we had to change our approach a little bit, but even still, I was able, in just the size of a crate, to put everything that we needed for school and just plop it in the car. And again, we were able to roll it with us wherever we went, and they were able to do school everywhere that we went. Now they're much older. I have 3 teenagers and all in high school. I have one that is in 5th grade. So neither one of those 2 situations really work for me anymore. At this point, they just take their backpacks. So everybody packs their own backpack. But what we have learned through doing Teach Them Diligently in the spring is that schooling on the road for older students is a great opportunity for them to learn that life goes on, that deadlines mean something, that they are responsible to keep up with their work. We are involved in a homeschool co-op, and they take classes, actual academic classes in our co-op. And so every trip that we take in the spring, they know that on the Monday that we get back, their work is due. If it's a test, if it is a project, if it is a paper, whatever, it is due. There is no getting out of it just because they were traveling for Teach Them Diligently. So you'll find now that my children are older, they will come down and work for a while, and then they'll go up to our room and work on their school, because they're learning discipline, they're learning diligence, they are learning that they are responsible for things that are assigned. And so schooling on the road is something that is a really great thing to do with your family. It allows you to exploit that flexibility and the freedom that you have as homeschoolers, but it also allows you to teach your children to be flexible, to work on their own, to see the whole world as their classroom, which is really a great takeaway from this. And then as they get older, it gives you a fantastic opportunity to teach them the discipline and the diligence of knowing that their responsibilities are still due when they get back. So enjoy the trip, but make sure that you're blocking time to get your work done. And those are life skills and lessons that will make them much better adults. So I hope that I've given you some ideas for how to set it up. This really is a very inexpensive and fun and easy way to take school with you while your children are little. Get yourself a rolling cart when they're a little bit bigger, and then their backpacks will have to do when they're older. But I do hope that you will take time to take your school on the road, because it is highly worth it. Teach Them Diligently is here to support your family's homeschool and discipleship efforts year-round. So follow along. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and be ready for encouraging tips and insights all year long.